Hey everybody, welcome to Around the Twist, episode 317. It's January 10th, 2018, and yeah, it's been a heck of a start to the year. We'll get into that in a little bit. So if you've followed me on Instagram at all, you'll know what I'm talking about, but for those of you who don't, we'll get to that in various and sundry. First, Happy New Year! I'm sorry that I didn't podcast last week, but motivation wasn't there, and that's not how I wanted to start off the year. So here we go. Coffee in hand. Let's kick off 2018, all right? Oh, hot coffee. Oh, wow. Okay, I'm such a mom. I'm so not used to having a cup of fresh hot coffee. Oh, I just took a huge gulp and that kind of seared my throat. Okay. The coffee is delicious, by the way. It's Hawaiian pineapple from San Marco, so it has that going for it. So first thing, what's on the needles, right? I have, riding along in my companion's bag from the Fat Squirrel. This is my only Fat Squirrel bag. I wish I could get more, but it is what it is. Amy Beth, love your bag. It's the project that has been languishing in this bag, and I'm sorry, I'm probably going to be sniffly. It is cold, cold-ish, I know, compared to the rest of the country. I don't want to tell you this, but yeah, out here in Colorado on the Front Range, it was 66 degrees yesterday. Yeah, I know, everybody on the East Coast, you can just yell how much you hate me right now. I'm sorry. I can't help it. I don't control the weather patterns. I wish I did. But today it's chillier and rainy, and it's that damp cold that just kind of permeates your bones, and it's just, yeah, it hasn't been good. So with the start of the year, I pulled out this bag after I finished the previous project. We'll talk about that after a bit too. I forgot to write it down. This is the Beck Sweater. You guys haven't seen this in a good long while. Once I get it untangled, because it's a hot mess. This is the pattern is Beck by Danny Frisbee. I'm gonna give you guys a little shot. There's what it looks like in its, wrong way, finished form. You can see the little yoke detail there. So realized I haven't touched this sweater. I need something for me. I've been knitting for the kids. I've been knitting for Sarah. I've been knitting for hubby. I've been knitting for other people. I have knit nothing for me recently that I could think of. Correct me if I'm wrong, please, because I'm like, I'm shelling out socks all over the place. I've got a sweater issue as well, but meh. So you saw on the close-up there are supposed to be 3 of these garter ridges, obviously the neckline and then 3 garter ridges. This is all bunched up. I'm knitting the 40-inch chest circumference because that's what I started with. Thank you, Ravelry, for keeping my project notes for me. The yarn, this lovely gray blue, is Rowan Felted Tweed DK. Let's see if I have a tag. I do have a tag. Huzzah! I just put the second ball on a little bit ago, so progress. It is the Felted Tweed. Color 173, which I purchased this back in Omaha ages ago at their end of year sale, and they classified the name as duck egg. So it's this blue, and it's got all the little tweedy bits in it, so you can see the little dark flecks. That's throughout the whole thing. It's a lovely yarn. That's a terrible way to describe things. It is, what is it made out of? It's 50% merino, 25% alpaca, 25% viscose. So it's got the halo. Really. Year's not starting off great, people. I can tell you that. Oh, goodness. Dropped the ball. So I'm knitting it up on a US 6, a 4.0 millimeter needle, like I said. Let's turn it around this way. It's the straightest. So we have the neckline. I've been increasing out, so it's kind of all bunched up on the needles. I've got 2 of the little crossover, oh no, wrong, that way, little crossover cable sections. And I'm working on the 3rd right now. I just started, you can kind of see, I just started that. There we go. least the camera's cooperating. Yay. So I have stitch markers coming out my ears that keep having to be put on, taken off, put on, taken off, moved over. But I was in the middle. I think when I picked it up last week at some point, I had just finished this second garter row. So basically this whole last stockinette section I have knit in the last couple weeks. Well, I've been trying to catch up with hubby. He got sucked into, I went ahead and bought the last season of Doctor Who on Amazon Prime because we did not keep up with it. Peter Capaldi's final season. And so we've been watching that, and I'd fall asleep on the couch and he'd keep watching like 3 more episodes rather than just stopping it. So when I've been playing catch up, I've been knitting on this. So that's kind of been nice to pull out a long ago project. I started that in March of 2016. I had no idea it was that old, and I was like, oh my good gracious. Yeah. Sorry, gotta do one thing here. I'm not seeing. So I've been knitting on that. Another thing. So I'm going to skip the next thing and talk about my FO of the week. That, of course, let's do this. Sorry, I'm so sorry. New tab. Not prepared. This is what happens when I take a week-ish off. The second thing, where did it go? Right here. So my FO of the week is the Andrea Needs a Co-Pilot cowl. My friend Andrea from work, one of our occupational therapists, I've been knitting for her. I don't have this to show to you because I actually gave it to her. And she kind of, before telling her, wait, I need to show it this week, she kind of gleefully ran off with it. So the Co-Pilot cowl by Dominique Trad, I knitted up using Wollmeise 100%, their Wollmeise Pure, which is their 100% Merino Superwash, in the Hollerstauden colorway, the dark kind of eggplanty purple that had kind of, it almost looked like it was like shades of purple and fuchsia that had been overdyed in a deep, rich burgundy. It was gorgeous. She loved it. Absolutely loved it. I started it November 30th. I finished it January 2nd. I washed it that night or the next day, and she stole it out of my hands the day after that. She was very excited to see that. So that was my FO. I don't have it to show you, but I finished it. Yay. Washed, blocked, gifted, done. The second thing I've been knitting, well, third thing since you last saw me that I've been knitting on, I'm dubbing them my worry socks. So this is going to kind of bleed on the needles into various and sundry. So this last Saturday, hubby and I had been napping while the kids were napping. We'd fallen asleep on the couch, and when he woke up, he started having chest pain right here. I didn't think anything of it, really. He's like, yeah, man, my sternum really hurts. And I was like, oh, okay. He's like, no, it started to go, no, it really hurts. It's like a 7 out of 10, and it's going up to my jaw, down my arms. And it's like, okay, do we need to go get you checked out? He's like, no, I think I'm okay. And then he went completely gray, broke out in a cold sweat, and said, okay, it's an 8. And I took one look at him, and I saw classic heart attack symptoms. The nurse in me kicked in, and I said, that's it, I'm calling 911. So, and I'm sorry guys, I'm probably going to break down here. I am breaking down. Why did I say probably? When you call the dispatcher, God bless the dispatchers because of everything they deal with, but when you call and tell them, yeah, my husband's having this, this, and this, and you're trying to stay calm so he doesn't freak out, and he says, oh, they say, okay, how old is he? And you say, he's 31, and they go, excuse me? And you think your phone didn't connect quite, and you said he's 31, and you hear the panic start to set in their voice. That doesn't help you calm down. The ambulance crew was wonderful. They got there very quickly. They got him over to the closest ER that we have. The ER doctor tried to dismiss it as anxiety, which is very different. He has very different symptoms when he's having an anxiety panic attack versus this. Stabbing sharp pain here is not his norm. Lab levels showed, I'm going to get technical here, I'm sorry. Lab levels showed an elevated troponin. Troponin, for those of you not in the healthcare field, it's a blood test that they can do to check to see if someone's having a heart attack. Normal people, you and I walking around day to day, it's zero. It's nothing. Because it indicates, basically it indicates proteins in the heart muscle are dying. The heart muscle itself is dying. A chunk of it is breaking down and going into the bloodstream. I've seen them in patients be high, like in the hundreds. But in a young, healthy guy like my husband, it should be zero. It started off at 5. It jumped to 14, at which point at the 5, they were like, okay, we'll put you on the cardiac floor for the night and we'll do a stress test in the morning. All of a sudden, everyone's flying back in saying, no, you're not going to the cardiac floor. You're going to the heart cath lab and you're having an emergent heart cath, like now. That's when I panicked more. So we went from, okay, we'll observe you, to, holy crap, this is something really, really, really bad. Turned out the cardiologist came out from the heart cath, said, we don't know. Everything's fine. He didn't have a heart attack. There's no evidence of a blockage in any of the arteries. Everything looks good. His heart is perfectly healthy. And she goes, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? What do you mean you don't know? There's something wrong with my husband's heart and you don't know. So panic, lots of panic. He ended up staying in the hospital from Saturday through Monday, late morning, early afternoon. They let us out, and still they don't know what was causing it. There's other things that they finally classified it as, but he doesn't have the classic symptoms of any of them. They're calling it pericarditis/myocarditis, which, fancy technical medical jargon, the pericardium is the sac that sits around your heart. The heart is inside of it beating away, but this sac around it. And pericarditis is the inflammation of that sac. An infection of some kind that you've had at some point has made its way to that sac and inflamed it. He doesn't have any of the signs of that. They were testing for that and they're like, no, it's not acting like it's this. Myocarditis is when that infection might reach the heart muscle, which is also very dangerous. But they're like, he's not exhibiting any symptoms, and even we're calling it this, but we still have no explanation for these elevated troponin levels. So we're kind of in a waiting, holding pattern with all of that. He's having a follow-up with the cardiologist in a couple of weeks. God bless the ER staff and the cardiac floor staff. They did every test known to man. They checked to make sure he didn't have a blood clot in his lungs. They did a chest x-ray, a chest CT, the emergent heart cath. They ran a heparin drip. They kept drawing labs and doing everything, and they were wonderful and explained everything that they could to us, but still we left with basically no explanations. So in that time, I didn't want to take the twins to the hospital because I didn't need to be corralling them while I was trying to pay attention to what they were doing to Eric. So a friend came over and watched the kids, but it was probably 45 minutes-ish before they got there and I could get to the hospital. So I was running around getting them ready for bed, and I was like, oh my gosh, I should take some knitting along so I have something to do while I wait. I ran down here to the basement, grabbed the first thing that was happy colors that I could see in the sock cupboard that did not need to be balled up, grabbed needles that would work, and put them all in my Jessalou cupcake project bag because it was the closest one that I had. So the second thing I've been working on, and there's a story behind this too. I grabbed Trekking XXL, Zitron's Trekking. It is colorway 415. It is a very happy, you can kind of see it's rainbowy. It's pink and green and lime green and yellow and orange. It kind of does a gradual color shift as it goes through. I knew Trekking was a skinny yarn, so I grabbed 2 sets of US ones. I don't know why I grabbed 2, but I did. They happened to be on my desk. So I have 2.25 millimeter needles. I walk into the entrance of the ER. And, okay, Loveland's not a big city. It's really not. But I know they do get trauma stuff there. So they do have security for after hours when you're going into the ER. And I get there, it's like, I don't even want to say what time it was. I don't even remember. I know it was evening. Main doors of the hospital were closed. Security guards standing there. You have to walk through the metal detector, give them your bag. I gave him my bag and went through, and he said, okay, do you have any weapons, anything sharp, blah, blah, blah. Now, mind you, this was not sticking out like this. This was all zipped up in the bag. He couldn't have seen it. All he saw was the bag inside my purse. What possessed me? Probably the panic in my head. I was not thinking clearly. Anything sharp, any weapons, blah, blah, blah. I said, no, I just have my knitting needles. And he said, I have to take those. And the second wave of panic set in of, oh my God, what am I going to do while we're waiting? And I was just like, they're knitting needles. Like, hello, they're allowed on airplanes and you're going to confiscate them? And he's like, yeah, I have to take them. You'll get them back when you come back out, blah, blah, blah. Okay, all right. Handed them over. And I'm sorry, those of you on Instagram, you've already kind of heard this story. Handed them over to him. I got my little, like, valet parking ticket thing to get them back. And they locked them up. And I was escorted into the ER and told what room he was in. And found hubby and then had nothing to do. And when I said something to him as he's on the gurney, and the nurse is in the room, I'm like, they took my knitting needles. Well, obviously at first I asked him, how are you doing? Are you okay? And he's like, fine, are you holding up? And I just went, they took my knitting needles. And the nurse turned around and goes, they took your knitting needles? I was like, yeah. She's like, why? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. They wouldn't give them back to me either. So when hubby went for his emergent heart cath, I had to go back out of the ER. Wanted to pick up the needles because they were taking me upstairs to a different waiting room where I was the only person present. And the surgical area was back behind, locked door, couldn't get to anyone. Went out and said, hey, my husband's going upstairs for a heart cath. Can I have this back? Because I won't be coming back down through here tonight. And the guy looks at his supervisor and they said, no, you can't. You can only have them back if you're leaving the building. I went, what? I need something to do. I have brought nothing else with me. I need my knitting. Well, you can have them back if you take them out to your car. All right, fine, give them back. I'll take them out to my car. So I wasted precious minutes. Not that I could do anything for hubby while he was in this heart cath, but wasted precious minutes getting them back. They'd locked them up in a little zippered biohazard bag. Whatever. Went out to the car. Pulled them out of the biohazard bag. Unzipped a deep pocket in my Jordana Page purse, which God bless Jordana Page for having so many pockets and me for carrying so much crap in my purse. And I shoved those needles down as deep as I could under stuff, zipped it back up. Went back in, set my purse on the counter, and man, before the guy just barely kind of had lifted the project bag up and kind of peeked in, this time he was pawing through stuff. He went through pockets, not all of them, because he didn't find the knitting needles. He let me through-ish, but I think he suspected I'd shoved them back in my purse. But he didn't find them, so he couldn't say I couldn't go through. Went through, someone escorted me upstairs, and I waited in the waiting room, at which point I took that picture and posted it to Instagram because I felt victorious. Knitting needles, people! And here's the kicker. If you're not going into the ER at this particular hospital, you go in during normal visiting hours, you walk in the front door, there is no security. You could walk in there with a knife, a gun, anything. This is why this drove me insane. I was just like, really? If the front doors had been open, I would have walked that way, come the back hallway through over here, and yeah. But whatever. I got my knitting needles back. I started knitting. So I dubbed these my worry socks. So I started 72 stitch vanilla socks, but not until the next day, because at this point it's like 1:30 in the morning and I am pooped from the adrenaline rush from running all over. Oh, we have a co-host coming here. Come here, baby. Come here. Ugh. Can you say hi?
Hi.
Can you tell everyone how old you are now?
I'm 4 years old.
And where do you go a couple days a week? Who do you go see?
Grandma.
No, we don't go to Grandma Nell's a couple days a week. Grandma Nell lives in Nebraska. Where are we going to go tomorrow? Do we go to preschool?
Uh-huh.
Preschool?
Uh-huh.
With who are your teachers?
Miss Renee and Miss Nicole.
Miss Renee and Miss Nicole, yep. And why are you not napping?
Because I just want to stay up.
Oh, baby. You got cold ears. Okay. How about you go back upstairs and you can turn on some Nick Jr., okay?
Okay.
All right.
I already got these tailpins from my closet.
Okay. All right. You go. Pull up your pants, too, dude. You're sagging. Thank you. Okay, I guess it's not a nap day today.
Then I'll come back down.
No, you turn on Nick Jr. and stay upstairs, please. I'll be up in a little bit, baby. So that tells me I better hurry. So I got a little bit of knitting done because it seemed like every time I would start to knit, well, number one, either the kids were there and I had to corral them, or if a couple friends came and helped take the kids a couple times and Eric's mom came out, I would just be so exhausted and I'd crash on the couch in his room or just be sitting there it was comforting just to hold something. So I managed to get the ribbing. So again, US 1, 72 stitches. I got 16 rows of ribbing. See, my monitor went off, so the color changed. There we go. So 16 rows of 1x1 rib, and oh gosh, just barely started the cuff last night while we were watching more Doctor Who. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6 rows of ribbing. So next to nothing. You'd think the few days he was in the hospital, I should have been able to get more done, but I didn't. But there was a saga of the knitting needles involved. And next time I know if I'm taking knitting into the ER, keep my project bag zipped, keep my mouth zipped as well, and don't tell them. One more thing to talk about, and again, if you're on Instagram, you've seen this. I Need a Wind sweater. You guys will probably recognize this. This is bad. I'm going to turn the camera a little. So this was, I think, shortly after I had done the Ho Aloha sweater and hadn't liked how it was turning out, and I'd had problems with another sweater that didn't really turn out. I was like, I just need a win. One win where I don't have to rip something out that I've invested a lot of time in. So I had picked the Calligraphy Cardigan by Hannah Fettig. And I picked the gorgeous, The Green That Sings from Blue Moon Fiber Arts in their heavyweight Socks That Rock. So I had done this whole gorgeous sweater. I was living in this weekend. This is like my comfort sweater. This is the cozy, comfy boyfriend sweater that you schlub around in. It's essentially the sweatshirt of sweaters. I love this sweater. So I started this in November of 2011. I finished it in January 1st, 2012. So it was a very quick knit for me. And on Sunday, I believe it was Sunday, at the hospital, I'm like, what else can happen, really? And it's like the universe wanted to smack me and said, oh, by the way, hole in this elbow of your favorite sweater. And I went, ah! And it hasn't really run anywhere, but I can see where the yarn snapped. It's like 2 rows of knitting, or it might be right where I did an increase. Shouldn't be where I did an increase. I haven't really triaged this, so this is kind of live on-air triage. It needs to be darned. I just went looking before I sat down to record. I don't know where the rest of this yarn is. I might have it. I might have gotten rid of it. So it's going to get a patch of some kind. I'll figure that out, and until then I can't wear my favoriteest sweater ever. It just means I might have to knit another one, but I love this sweater so much. It's a green that I don't normally go for. I force myself to step outside my comfort zone. I had done a crocheted reinforcement inside the neck because it was really stretching, but I love this sweater. It has buttons that I got out at the Button Emporium during the second sock summit. I made a side trip to the Button Emporium and got buttons that I have been living on this sweater, but sad. So the start of our new year has not been wonderful. It could have been much, much, much worse, honestly, but it hasn't been great. I'm hoping that the rest of the year is a lot better because, yeah, it so far has not been a good year. I know, the year's only a week and a half old, but we'll see. So, I've really rambled, you guys. I'm sorry, but a lot happened, and I wanted to make sure everyone knew and no one was speculating. So we're here. We're home, we're healthy for now, and I guess until next week, happy knitting.